Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hey Brother podcast. Today I'm joined by fellow CP Map graduate, former Friar, now married husband, Kevin Burke. I'm Nick Clune, and you're listening to the Hey Brother podcast. Join me and my brother Mitch as we challenge each other and other Catholic men to grow deeper in brotherhood, strengthen our faith, and find greater freedom. Hit the subscribe button and join us on this journey. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. We were just talking about before we started recording that I was lying on my couch this morning before I went to mass, and like our newest cat, we just got another cat a few weeks ago. He like peed on the pillow just above my head. So
Oh no.
uh,
Like actively while
yes,
you were laying
right,
there?
like while
Or
I was laying there. So it was a bit of a rocky start this morning, but
Yeah.
um,
Here, I thought getting your camera on was maybe the worst part of your
yes,
morning,
well,
but the cat peeing on the pillow
technical
sounds
difficulties
terrible.
are nothing when you're getting peed on, um,
That's funny. Do you go to mass pretty regularly, like a daily
Yeah,
kind of
well,
thing?
I
Or is
tried to
that
a few months ago. Back in the spring, I really tried to make a commitment to go to our local parish at 6:45 a.m. mass, and
okay?
it's been great, honestly. Even on my days off, even after like working, because I start work at 7, but on my days off, I'll still try
Okay.
and get up and go.
I've been with the
Yeah,
question. So, can you share, a little bit about your story, what you're passionate about right now, and who you are? Like, I got to know you just a little bit at the summit, the Catholic Psych Summit of
for sure.
Integration, but I'd love to hear more about
Yeah,
your story.
that was great. It was great to those conversations at the hotel. Was awesome. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Yeah, so I am, born and raised in Massachusetts. In raised in Dedham. I have one brother, um, 3 years older than me. Raised Catholic.
Okay.
I would say, I guess, a typical, Irish Catholic family. Um, I was
Yeah.
like rattle off the names. Burke, Sullivan, and Murphy are the names of my family. It's just very, very Irish. Um,
Interesting.
and yeah, we're
Is that like characteristic of like the Massachusetts area? Is it like pretty Catholic?
Uh,
Like,
yeah,
I
I would say so. I mean, like, I, it's hit or miss now these days, but I guess like there was some like obscene amount of parishes that are now like unfortunately being closed. But there are a lot of churches,
okay.
um, and that they're
Yeah.
now becoming collaboratives. Um, so yeah, it is pretty Catholic. And the
Yeah.
Catholic community in Boston is still really really vibrant. So yeah, I was raised Catholic, went through all the sacraments, but then this might be a little non-linear, I suppose. But when I was to go a little more personally, for me, my story, my parents divorced when I was 7. Um,
Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, and it really had a huge effect on me from there on, and my dad moved out. Um, and he always stayed local. We always spent weekends with him, and Tuesdays and
Okay.
Thursdays. But it had a really big effect on me. Like, and I'm really still unpacking it. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I was I'm kind of a normal kid. I just played in the neighborhood with two like close friends. Went to public school until 6th grade, and then I started at a Catholic high school, Catholic Memorial in West
Okay.
Roxbury. In
Was that a weird transition to go from public school into Catholic school, or
I
was
think
it
it would have been weirder
pretty
if it
normal?
was like further on, but I had only like I was in elementary school, and then I did 1 year of middle school, and then I transitioned
Yeah.
into Catholic school in 7th grade. So like it felt like I was in Catholic school for at least half of my educational life, like young educational life. So
Sure.
um,
That makes sense. Were the other kids like who went from public school to Catholic school with you that you like knew, or was it like just like you like plop from one spot, one school to the
yeah,
next, and
I mean, there were certainly a lot of, yeah, it was pretty much all new to me anyway. I mean, not many guys
Okay.
from Dedham went. One of my friends did come. One of my closest friends from my neighborhood did end up transferring into Catholic Memorial. I think when I was in high school,
Okay.
but he didn't stay. He ended up going to another school. So, um,
Oh well.
yeah, there was a lot of kids from all over the Boston area, but not a whole lot that I knew. So that was hard. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I had a hard time like making friends growing up. I was pretty introverted, and a lot of this is tied to like I think what I'm realizing now are the effects of like, my parents' divorce and just my home life. Is it like
Mm.
I bottled up, like I isolated a lot. I wasn't a very like outgoing
Interesting.
kid. If I had friends, it
Yeah.
was like a few, and I just didn't really know how to like be real. I mean, I was a kid, it makes sense. But like
Yeah.
my own personality, I think I was very isolated, and I kind of
Interesting.
bottled a lot of my feelings.
That kind of surprises me. I mean, I got to know you post you being a friar and like the CP map. And when we were talking at the summit, I like going in a second guest. I'm like, oh, like Kevin seems like a pretty normal dude. Like not. I guess like it surprises me because you could be normal and like still pretty introverted, but like you like it surprises me that like that was like a part of the story. It makes sense like hearing your like what your background is and like where you've gone through.
Yeah,
But yeah, it kind of surprises me on the
for
other
sure.
side of it, getting to know you.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's like, and I think like, I mean, this will certainly tie into what I think we want to talk about later. But like a huge part of breaking out of that like circle of isolation that lasted for like into high school um, was close
mm,
friends. Really close friends. And so, um, if we just to jump ahead a little bit, we can certainly circle back to like unpack this stuff if we want to. But
sure.
um, when I was a senior in high school, or like going into my senior year in high school, I was just really lonely. I was just like the friends I had, felt super unfulfilling. I was getting into drugs, like just smoking weed or drinking, and but it was weird. It wasn't like I felt like I was going down the wrong path, and
Yeah.
and so I started actually hanging out, just like hanging out in the back parking lot of my home parish where I knew that there was a life teen group,
Okay.
um, and St. Mary's Life Teens, kind of famous in the Boston area. One of the first like
Okay.
life teen groups that was founded in the Boston Archdiocese, I think. And I met Ryan Nash, who you and
Okay.
I know
Awesome.
as Catholic Psych mentor. Um, and
Yeah.
then also another close friend who was also at the summit, Father Nick Stano. I don't know if you got the chance to meet him.
Yeah, I got a chance
Okay,
to meet Father
cool,
Nick.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we all clicked very quickly. All three of us, and then we were all at one point for like a split second in senior year of high school. We were all dating the same, uh, you know, close friends. Our girlfriends were all close friends. So like, but the
Yeah.
friendships lasted, and I think that's like what has like really over the years brought me out of my shell is like stable, good friendships, stable, good like
Yeah.
specifically like with men, with Ryan and Father Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. Good. I think so. Like for me, I'm curious what the kind of transition there was from like so high school, like a little tumultuous, but then coming up like and like meeting some really good brothers, and then were you one of the folks who like I'm like felt called to religious life pretty early in life, and you're like I'm gonna go explore the friars, or was that something that came down the road, or what was
yeah.
that part of the story like?
No, it was pretty tumultuous how it all came to light, within me. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, when we had just graduated high school, me and Ryan, Father Nick Stano, and we went to World Youth Day in Madrid. This was 2011. And it was like we were in preparation for that. We were looking at the saints, Spanish saints, and Saint John of the Cross like really piqued my interest. I was just like, who's this guy? And it sounded like even just like what I initially the blip that I heard about him was very intriguing. And so on fast forwarding to my freshman year of college, at this time I was still in a long-term relationship. My youth minister gave me this like introductory book on John of the Cross called The Impact of God. Very, very good book if anybody's ever looking for an introduction to the spirituality of the Carmelites and St. John of the Cross. And I remember like sitting in the lobby or like the lounge area on the ground floor in my dorm and just devouring this book in the corner. I was really like, I was just like so into it. It was crazy. And I've thought about this like over the years of like, what was it about this book that struck me, or like, what was it that this book struck within me or, did to me? Yeah. And that's why I often think that like books really can be a source of grace. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was one of the books from the Catholic Psych, the program was The Spiritual Passages by Father Benedict Rochelle. And he talks about how like the Lord can speak to us through one of the transcendentals. And anytime I think of like truth, I think like of that, like how is the Lord speaking to us through truth? And a lot of times it's like through good literature, good reading, good books that like he'll grab us. But what was it that like stood out to you from this St. John of the Cross book?
Yeah, and it's hard. I don't really remember too much of like any one particular insight, but I just never read anything that showed the depth of the human person in such an experiential way. And it just like it made me it just gave me this like really powerful glimpse into the my own interior life is just like a snapshot, like it's just like a flash of light. It didn't last forever, but like there is much more to me within my own soul, mind, heart.
And you never had that before, that experience of like, oh wow, like there's something deeper here. I don't think you're alone. Most freshman guys in college probably don't have like that awareness of like a deeper interior world going on. But that's the thing that grabbed you, that like, oh wow, like it's like it's easy to see the expansiveness of the world outside of us, but like rarely do we actually start to look inward and see like, oh wow, there's actually something deep there too, or expansive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like it was like there is a world within you, like even I know that like John of the Cross talks about these deep caverns of feeling. It's actually like the English translation, and like how they like they are massive. We think they're tiny. Like we have no idea how deep these caverns go. And because we fill them up with just junk. Early and for a million reasons. That's not a criticism on men, but like we settle for so much less in it, and it makes it seem like there's like it's all empty. It's nothing.
And it's particularly masculine to like be very outwardly focused too, right? And like to be able to like shut off every like kind of interior thing, and not even shut off. Like sometimes it's shutting off, sometimes it's like redirecting into distraction. Like men are really good at distracting themselves by work, by alcohol use, by porn use, by like all sorts of things, and so they don't like actually pay attention. Like actually, there's something going on interiorly, or like compartmentalizing. Like I think that's something that I've struggled with myself. It's like I will acknowledge like there's something going on in there, but I don't really need to pay attention to it. Like that's not important. Like and so just kind of like shove it away in a corner and keep living life, and So like I think men are pretty used to like either ignoring the interior life or just simply not acknowledging it. But then you encounter good books like what you're saying, and it's like, wait a minute, like, what do you mean? Like, there's something here, and it's almost like a call to adventure, like inward, that like men can find attractive more times than not. Like about no, actually, there's like a whole like adventure of going inward, or like even who's it that wrote the Interior Castle? I'm
It's
blanking.
Saint Teresa.
Avila.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Saint
Okay.
Teresa.
Um, yeah, like even that is like you're encountering different layers of the castle, right? And like you're
Right.
journeying through. And so anyway, so that's what set you up on this freshman path. Like you encountered this book, and then what happened from there? Did you like put it down and just like that was cool? Like let's move on with life, or did that like spark something
Yeah.
within you to prompt greater change?
Well, yeah, no, and it's funny, like you say, like a sense of adventure. I mean, I felt like this line later on in the movie Risen is about a centurion who encounters Christ.
Yeah.
But the line that stands out is like, I
Okay.
can never live the same way again. You know, after having discovered this pivotal insight, or this person, you know, encountered Jesus. But for me, yeah, like I was dating still. I was in this like relationship for I think like over a year, and then you know I just it started me on the path of like thinking, is there another vocation for me besides marriage? And you know I brought it up briefly with my dad. You know, like is it possible that I'm called to the priesthood? You know, or is it possible that I'm called to some other way of living the Christian life? You know, it's a bit more radical. And you know, and then I actually like I got in touch with the vocation director at the time, and had a few conversations with him. But you know, all the time, like I really wanted to be honest with the girl I was dating. You know, at the time, I was not dating in a relationship with her. And actually, because I was really interested in even just doing like a weekend retreat, you know, about it. And I brought it up with her. You know, I brought it up with her in a very like honest conversation, and it was hard. It was just really rough. And so I actually like caved. I was just like, I'm fine. I won't go on the retreat. You know.
Was she like into her faith at all, or where was she at?
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
like
she was, and to the extent that we were all part of the same life team group. You know, we all went to mass every Sunday together. But I can't speak to where she is now. But like at least certainly then we were we were going to church every Sunday.
But she was like Catholic, so it wouldn't have been like totally like out of left field to be like, hey,
exactly.
I'm thinking about this thing. I mean, maybe like if it's something you had never talked about before, like on a personal level, like it could be a little jarring.
Yes, and that's what it was. And it was really jarring because it really, frankly, like, and this is the thing, like this is the struggle that I continue to have of like kind of bottling things up and holding these like things in within me and not really sharing them with anybody. Even with her, I just like I struggled to share things like and with her, so when I finally did bring it up, it was really jarring to her. And we had a as teenagers, and I think we had a bit of an unhealthy relationship. Like she came from a pretty rough home, dysfunctional home life too, and so I think we were a bit over dependent on each other.
Sure.
So
it's typical high school relationships. It's like just can be very high schoolish.
Exactly.
Where you're not your own independent human being, and then you get into a relationship with somebody, and but so you told her, she kind of convinced you like, hey, don't do that, like, and
and like so I finished that. That was my freshman year of college, and so I finished that year, And then, I intended to transfer to another Catholic college in the Worcester area, Assumption College, and yeah, ultimately that it fell through. I was just lazy. I didn't get the financial aid I needed. I got into the school, or no, I don't remember what happened. Something happened with the application, and I just it didn't work. And so I ended up commuting back to the state school where I was my freshman year, Framingham State. I commuted and worked at a local supermarket at the same time. And then my relationship with my girlfriend at the time was just really souring. And I just felt miserable. I was just trying to think of a way to plan our life together. We're thinking about eventually getting married and me becoming a history teacher. And it was just not it was, in hindsight, I realized just how inauthentic I was being with myself, and with her, about what kind of plan we really had, and was I really happy about it? And so it came to a head in the middle of my sophomore year. So this was her freshman year. She was in another school out in Worcester, and I just realized I'm not happy. And it took some serious grace and painful realization to see our relationship is not going anywhere. I'm not happy. I need to do something to move. I need to shift gears in some way. So we broke up, and then 2 days later I applied to Franciscan University.
Okay, wow.
Because Ryan had transferred out there the year before, and I'd been in touch with him over the past few months, and it just seemed like he was having a great time, and it just seemed like just the shift I needed. So I transferred to Steubenville that following year and started studying theology. And that's what I graduated with. And then not long after that, so just vocation story-wise, in the fall of that year, my first year at Steubenville, I met Father Michael Berry, who was the vocation director at the time for the Carmelites, Discus Carmelites. And he invited me to come out for a visit. And I could keep going on forever because it's a very tumultuous story filled with so much inconsistency.
Sure.
But in all, it was me just listening for a little bit to the call, and then not, and then going into another relationship, and then
playing coy.
What?
Playing coy with the vocational calling, just
exactly, and just not listening to my interior, what's really being, what am I really being called to?
Yeah. Were there any draws to being a Franciscan, since you went to the university there? Were they trying to convince you there, sell you on becoming a friar for the Franciscans?
No, I don't think. No, I never really got that from any of the TORs or anything. I even took Ryan and I actually took a class on St. Francis while we were both studying abroad in Austria. And it was really cool. I loved learning about St. Francis. I have a real deep love for his story and for who he is, and just his personal struggle. In his call to holiness, but it was always something about the more contemplative interior dimension of the Carmelites.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, the Carmelites was what attracted you eventually after some in and out, and then you were with them for, was it 4 years? Is that how long you were with the Carmelites?
In the end, I think it was 5 years and a few months. So.
But that wasn't a continuous stretch. It was in and out, or was it continuous?
No, it was continuous. Yeah. Them? I was a year out from making final vows. So.
Okay. Wow. Oh, wow. 5 years, a year out from final vows. Wow. It's I've like got some buddies who are legionaries of Christ, or were former legionaries of Christ, and they were in it for like 11 years, and they still didn't make final vows, and I'm like,
Yeah.
woof, like that's a long
I
formation
know. Yeah.
process. But yeah. So you discerned out, and then now married is like where you're at
Right.
currently in life. That's so you've got this vocational awareness around like a little bit of the religious life, dating life, now
Mm.
married life, um, and that's like a part of like what you kind of integrate it with like the Catholic Psych program too. Like I don't know how much. I mean, we could talk about that maybe towards the end of the podcast if you want to talk about that. But like it's like integrated vocations is the name of
Yeah.
what you were doing
Integrated
with that.
discernment. Um, yeah.
Discernment. Okay.
Yeah. And well, and we can talk a little just because it is connected to my story. I just
Yeah.
my discernment process of entering the Carmelites, there was something genuine, and and the Lord was certainly calling me, for a time to be Carmelite, but there were just like I've realized in hindsight there were so many holes in my understanding of my story and of myself, that
Okay.
it just uh, it, it it would have been helpful to understand a lot more,
Yeah.
of the inner dynamics going on within me. Um, so, and
Yeah.
that's what I want to
That
do.
makes sense.
I want to help others with. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Nice. Nice. That's cool. And it's kind of like maybe where you find yourself even today is like exploring the the inner dynamics. I think it's like we can understand it, but then it's like always like a work in progress. Like when we when we start, it's like those caverns, like they they just keep
Right.
getting bigger. There's no back end of it, and it's like what the heck? Where's the
Right.
Lord in this
Yeah.
thing? And yeah, so like I guess that's kind of where I'm gonna like ask questions about a little bit. Is like one, you like alluded to brotherhood a little bit already, and maybe you could say a bit more on that, and just like obviously it played a big role in high school, and then like even Ryan like transferring out to Franciscan like was another element of that brotherhood tying in, but then also like kind of bringing me into the here and now, like what's it that you're kind of working towards as a man, like what do you want to grow
Mhm.
in, um, those kind of
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. So I think as regards to brotherhood, from what I've already shared, the sense of real uh, friendships, and this is something that very very much tied to um, the podcast that I sent to you. Just like it's plug of it's Jake Kim and Brett Powell's podcast about like going beneath the surface and real male friendships and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Um, like over the years, Ryan and Father Stano and I, um, it's just been an incredible source of growth to know that like I have someone who, yeah, and there's definitely something about it that like I benefit from our friendship. I'm still working on how to be a source of support for my friends too. Um, there's there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of insecurity that I think I'm trying to grow in, about how much of a source of support I can
Mm,
be for the brothers around me.
yeah.
Um, and
Can you dive into that a little bit? Because it's like I think that's like a
for
very
sure, yeah.
common like reality for
Mhm.
men out there. It's like I could say all the live long day, like, hey, go get a beer with a guy, which is like often a call to action that I have in these podcasts. Like go be in relationship. Like I'm like, stop listening to this podcast. And like, please don't stop listening. Please subscribe. Like I'll plug that a little bit, like and continue to listen. But like this podcast can only go so far, but actually being in real relationship with a man, like like a brother, like can do so much for your life. And I think what it's easier to like kind of point to some of those guys we can see in our lives that are like living the faith well and receive relationship from them. But I think like what you're sharing is a very relatable aspect too, where a lot of guys are like what do you mean support somebody, like what do I have to offer, like those kinds of fears and insecurities. can start to flood a guy's interior world. And so, can you take me a little bit into that, like, and like what that
Sure.
experience
Yeah.
is?
Yeah. And I think like, well, if just thematically and even just like in interactions, and I think like it's helpful to look at it in like how we approach individual interactions with each of our brothers. I remember this from the podcast with J. Kim. It's just like learning how to slow down and at least from my perspective, like really like take some of the pressure off of like what we're expected to do to support our brothers, um, and even like like, and this is something that the training that I've received from Catholic Psych's CPMAP program is just like empathy. Empathic listening is not.
Yeah.
It's not. It can be hard if you're not used to it, if you weren't raised with it, but it's
Sure.
not impossible to learn.
Yeah.
And and it can be as simple as like just asking another question, um, or these are like the responses that Jake and Brett Powell mentioned that I just really resonated with. Asking a question, or just sharing how what this brother's sharing is resonating with me. There's one other
Yeah.
that you mentioned. Or just like that sounds like what someone sharing, that they're really struggling with, like in their marriage, or or porn, or a job that they can't stand, or family struggles. Like, just say, man, that sucks. That's really sounds really
Yeah.
crappy. To be going through that.
Yeah. I'm curious if there's almost like a fear for men to be empathetic in some regards. At least as you're talking about that, one, like if I'm just helping a guy like work through something and just asking questions, like that feels safer. That feels like a safer form of empathy as a man, like where it's like, I'll just keep asking you why. It's almost like an organizational leadership skill set where it's just like, we're gonna ask why 5 times and get to the root of the shit, and like we'll find we'll find out the problem and we'll solve it. That's a very masculine approach to like having a conversation with a buddy. But like just like being straight up empathetic and being like, wow, that sucks. That I feel that even using like feeling words can it be for like and I think culture is shifting a little bit in today's world where you get a couple different forms of masculinity out there, and like some of them are like the broism, and it's like we don't have emotions, and maybe that's kind of where I'm coming from, is like sometimes guys are like it's hard to turn that on, or for what you're saying, it sounds like it's like I don't even know what that looks like like what does it mean to actually like treat somebody with empathy in relationship, like how does that work? So
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like, and this kind of harkens back, I think, in a way, now that we're reflecting on it, it's like this guy. I mean, we don't know how deep we are, and I think like,
yeah.
because we've distracted ourselves from it, and I think like there is something to this about, guys struggle to do this. We have that. The word that I remember from the program a lot is like this proclivity to like the distance or the space between ourselves and others. We're going to use like a I don't know, phenomenological term, I suppose, but like we are much more comfortable in like looking at something, or I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but like we're much more comfortable with the distance, and so like
Yeah.
being in it with somebody, and not asking questions, but like I don't mean, this is another tangent, but I watched a video of Theo Vaughn. I don't know if you've heard of him before.
Okay. Sure.
He's
Yeah.
interviewing what's his name? Gosh, Tarzan is his nickname. He's Steve Strickland, I think is his name. He's a UFC fighter.
Okay.
Had a horrible upbringing and starts sharing this fighter starts sharing it in the middle of the podcast, and they're like on camera, and Theo just like slows down with him and just like, man, I'm sorry. We can just sit here with you. We can just sit. We don't have to talk, you know? And like,
Yeah.
and, I actually like, I found myself crying, just like listening. It's just like this guy has the courage
Yeah.
to just like say, like, we don't, like, you're like, there's all this pain that you're going through and sharing right now is welcome. Um, and that's not
Yeah.
super complicated, but for us, I guess, interiorly as men, there might be some like discomfort that we have to push through for the sake of the other man. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Like Theo Von is such a
mm,
great interviewer. Like he just brings himself into it, and it's just like, I remember like watching this guy, and I'm like, how does this guy have like millions of subscribers? Because he's just kind of goofy and quirky in himself, and I'm like, that's awesome. He's just not afraid to be
right,
who he is, and I think that's what we're desperately longing for. And then like also like on the other side of like we're also
right,
terrified of is like if somebody actually sees me, like what will happen then? And I think even like asking that question is probably too too deep
mm,
for some guys, like to be like to actually pay attention to a couple parts of us that like one, I want to actually be in relationship, but another part of me is afraid to be in relationship. Like we just know that we're uncomfortable in situations that
yes,
emotion shows up, and like that's enough. So I'm gonna go drink a beer and
right,
that's that. and so like yeah, there's like something really cool about like letting ourselves draw deeper into relationship with men. And I interrupted you along the way and started
no,
this
it's all right.
tangent on in interior where we're I think we where it was like just yeah just like this like desire to enter into relationship with guys and like you questioning that like how do I do this right like in your own journey your own process um
Yeah,
and like and maybe even like some insecurities there still like something like yeah that's kind of like trying to track it back like how do I support guys like how do I actually
right.
effectively do this
Yeah, I can
yeah
jump in. Like, well, it's something you said actually, like maybe 5-10 minutes ago about like I've realized recently that I do this is like it's just ask we can ask questions to no end, and it can seem like we're asking
mm-hmm.
questions, as a way of empathizing, and that can. And I'm not saying that you can't do that, like asking good questions so that a person like to the point where a guy knows he's understood, can go a long way,
Yeah,
but like if you're just asking questions to no end, like it's leaving you, and it leaves me, and I've noticed this in it still in that distance, where I'm not really in it with the guy,
yeah,
or the person, and I'm talking just as much with my wife, like or at any time, and so like there comes a point just to like seize on the moment of like when when I done like there's no need to ask any more questions, and I'm just like
mm-hmm.
really like stepping into the space with the other person, um, and
Yeah,
that's like there's a vulnerability to that, and I think that's another dimension to like what scares everybody. I mean, and that includes men, about vulnerability in relationship of being available, making your full self available to the other person's emotional, spiritual, relational struggles. Um,
mm-hmm.
so I think that's something where I'm personally realizing I need to work on it. So
Yeah, absolutely yeah. But where do you like see work in that area being done? Like how does like one grow in that, or how like not even just one? Like we can take it from theoretic and like make it applicable to you. Like where do you feel like the growth edge is there for you in that?
yeah, yeah. I think I mean certainly. I mean I know this is as many married men maybe listening to this podcast are guys in relationships, but certainly in my marriage,
Yeah,
I know that like there a lot of times my wife has wanted to share something with me, or she's struggling. Part of her really wants to feel safe, to be known, a struggle that she's going through. And I, because of the dynamics, some of the wounds I have from my relationship with my mother, I very quickly jump into the fear that I'm going to be taken advantage of, or like she's going to bulldoze over me with her emotional struggles, and it's hard to learning how to ask my parts to take a step back. Like, it's not about me right now, but it's about the other person. It's about my wife, what she's sharing, and she needs me, and that's, I think that's I'm feeling that pretty strongly right now in my life in the past like several months, of like that responsibility, of being being free so that I can be a gift to her in empathizing. So I think that's really where I'm working, and that comes down to like I said, like asking this part of me, this like anxious, fear to take a minute, like, and like really understanding where that's coming from, but not so much that I'm not to such an extent that I'm losing sight of what she's trying to say.
Yeah, it takes heroic effort to put like that side fear aside, particularly if it's like getting louder and louder and louder, and like and it's like a dying to self in some ways when you're choosing to do that and just be in relationship with the person in front of you, and it's hard, it's tricky, and it's like, and it's good to notice like like that's the thing with like the first time I encountered kind of like psychoanalytic theory and stuff like that. I'm like, this stuff's garbage, it's bullshit, like some sort of like voodoo or like witchcraft, like everything, like it's like not everything can be that connected, right? Like, but but then you like start to explore and you start to realize like, like these parts theory like holds a lot of weight and is really true, and it's like, yeah, like why am I like so anxious right now? Why am I so afraid? And that's like when it comes back to it. And I've been doing a lot of this in my own work, like with myself, with clients, of like just realizing and calling to mind like it's like okay to have the emotion, like it's okay to like whatever the emotion is that's coming up, whether that's sadness or like overwhelm or what have you, and then also to like distinguish like, but I'm also like scared. I also feel threatened right now. And like distinguishing the two, I feel like has been helpful for my own kind of like processing, but also like working with folks where it's like it's good that you're having an emotional reaction right now, like especially if like your wife's sharing something that's really hard, and it's like, yeah, like you should feel something. You're her husband, like that's a normal thing to be doing. But it's like the question of like anxiety and fear, like why is that like causing me to like want to get the hell out of this conversation, or why is this like causing me want to like put up the shields and like stop saying anything, and like whatever it is, like that's the thing that I'm like, let's not like demonize the emotion, like actually normalize it and be like it's healthy, but then like really focus in on the fear response and like what is that about, like, and I feel like for many people, not just men, but like anyone, it's so easy to lump the two together and just kind of like push them out and like ignore it and like just try to keep moving through life.
Right. Yeah. No. Where like, and then, like being willing to actually like slow down and be curious about that narrative, and I think that's like, I don't to, like learning how to separate them, and then but then I actually like, slowing down and being curious, like where is this narrative coming from? Because it's, I mean, it, of itself it's a good thing to do, but it's also like, especially I know in my marriage it's like it wreaks havoc when I let this narrative or this anxiety, this fear dominate, and so like there's a sense of responsibility, that I think like this is the work, like, and this is maybe like what I'm another question that you had. I don't know if you want to move on to this. Kind of transitioning,
Yeah, sure.
like what I'm passionate about. Um, and I think and then maybe this could also be applied to like what I would want to say to men. It's just like this is the work um, that we are called to do, and being um, being in touch with your emotions and the narratives that play within yourself makes you a stronger man. It
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in where strength really matters. Like it, and I remember, and this just another I remember Jordan Peterson. I was watching like a video of like if you hate Jordan Peterson, watch this video. And it's like all these like beautiful moments from his interviews or speeches, and one of them he says
Yeah.
like, you want to be the person at the funeral that everybody can rely on. You want to be the source of strength. You know, you don't want to be the one who's like in the corner. I mean, and like what kind of vision do you have for yourself? And like concretely, what does that look like? Um, and that's only going to happen if we are um, like in touch with ourselves and like really grounded in ourselves, every aspect of ourselves, and that includes our
Yeah.
emotions. Um, and I just
Absolutely.
that's very close to me right now, and I think like that's the work. That's really the work that I think men are called to, and it's not going to.
Absolutely.
This is the narrative that comes up in me, is like it's not going to make us appear weak uh, to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, it to the people who it might make us appear weak are have I don't know a distorted understanding of masculinity and masculine strength.
Yeah.
And it's sad. That's sad. But like the reality is like it's going to we will be stronger.
Yeah. Like, cause it's like, what is real vulnerability? I had somebody come at me in in the comment section on one of my reels, cause they're like, vulnerability isn't
Mm,
strength, it's weakness, and he was definitely in that broism, like
mm,
stoic movement, where it's like this is a warped understanding of masculinity, but it's like that's real vulnerability is strength, because it's like I like one, I have to get what you're saying, get in touch with my emotions, and then share that and be okay with whatever somebody else's reaction is to me sharing that, whether that is like acceptance or like even like rejection. Like I could share something and that could trigger somebody else's parts and they could reject me
mm,
in that moment. And vulnerability is like having the courage to be like, yeah, this is scary because I don't know what the reaction's going to be. Like they could reject me, they could love me, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like it's not like this elimination of the fear that's there. It's like seeing it, acknowledging it, and then choosing, like, I'm gonna share this
mm,
and see what happens. Like, because I actually want to be somebody who has ownership over like my fear, my emotional life, and like I want to dictate what that I do with that, and not let the fear dictate how I'm gonna live my life. And it's so like you can look at it from the psychoanalytic dimension and like what you're saying with the curiosity bit, and it's invaluable
mm,
to like do that in your life because that's what promotes the ability to have self-possession and freedom, right? Like to be able to actually like go through this, look at your shit and be like, okay, this is where I need to grow in freedom. um, but then it's a whole another thing to like put that into experience, put that into like actualization, and like actually drawing that out inside yourself and like still realizing I'm afraid but I'm gonna do this. And why? Because like I want to be in
mm,
relationship with people because that's what I'm built for, and I'm tired of being
mm,
so lonely and so like overwhelmed and so in need of help, and not actually going out and like doing it, not actually going out and being in a relationship, asking for help, or even just simply just like like letting myself draw deeper in connection with somebody.
yeah. Like ultimately, and I think like yeah, to your point, it's like all of this is it's all good and it's all geared towards yeah relationship. Like what
Yeah.
like why are in Exodus 90 they always have this like what's your why for doing this
Mm.
um, and in the past like I did when I did Exodus last year um, imperfectly by the way very but like
Yeah.
ultimately, like it was to be, a better husband. It was all like, or at least
Yeah.
the big motivator for me was to like be more emotionally, psychologically disciplined, so that I could, and
Hmm.
so that I could be a better gift of myself to my wife. Um, um, it's still certainly a work in progress. But yeah, I think to draw more to your point, it's like learning how to be comfortable in the discomfort. You're not, yeah, like okay with the
Mm.
discomfort for the sake of
Yeah.
gift making a gift of yourself.
Yeah, and that's where like, and I think I lost my own kind of a point. Like, I get fired up when people
Sure.
talk about vulnerability, and I'm like, you're so wrong when you say vulnerability is
Mm-hmm.
weakness, because it's like to be vulnerable. Like if you see somebody being vulnerable, like out of a place of like choosing, like they're not being compulsively vulnerable, because we all probably can name a
Mm-hmm.
few people in our lives who are compulsively vulnerable, and it's like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like real ownership and then choosing to be vulnerable. That like implies so much strength and so much courage and like real like authentic masculinity to like I'm gonna make myself vulnerable to you. Like it's like Christ on the cross. He like displays it perfectly of like what does real vulnerability look like. You can do
Right.
what you want. Like I am yours. Like and a lot of times we're the ones like driving the nail in instead of receiving the like blood from his side and like washing ourselves in that. I mean, it's both and like we're doing both. Like we're hurting him and we're also receiving his vulnerable gift because we're
Yes.
imperfect human beings. So it's anyway. I could go on a
No, it's
tangent
all
for days with that.
right. Yeah, vulnerability is like something like, especially having read, well, like there's a few lectures in the program that
Mm-hmm.
that and I think Spirituality 300, with, and then reading Father Boniface Hicks' book on spiritual direction. Um, he talks about vulnerability, and like, and even like and I think this is like harkening back to like the example of Theo Von is like there's a vulnerability to even like just being in the discomfort with somebody. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
not even saying anything. It's just like you're making yourself vulnerable by being exactly who you are with another person, even if you're not saying it. Yeah, and I think like, um, and that's like if talking about like how somebody can grow in empathy, how guys can grow in empathy. It's just like the next time you find someone sharing something with you, just like you don't even have to ask questions. You don't even have to, like, at least at the beginning, you don't have to ask questions or even say anything. It's just like I'm really going to be present with you right now, like exactly as I am.
Yeah.
Um, I'm struggling to like, I'm still working on this thing, but like I'm here with you. Um, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be a good like practice, for someone to say like I'm just going
Yeah.
to be here with you. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's
mm,
super powerful. I think what I want to kind of wrap things up with here is like one, just like thank you for choosing to be here on the podcast and just being
mm,
vulnerable yourself. That's something that I admire and appreciate. And like, yeah, I can say it in theory that it takes courage to be vulnerable, but I love that you're sitting here practicing it and like just being able to share vulnerably your story. But then two, I want to ask like and you kind of alluded to this already, but like what's like one thing you would encourage men with today that are listening to this, and then lastly, I'll have you like just share a little bit about integrated discernment and where guys can connect with you and
yeah.
that work.
Um, yeah, I guess like just to build on what I shared already, it's like I'm gonna pause for a second here. We can edit this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the interior work, and this is I guess what I want to say. The interior work of knowing yourself is actually like the greatest gift you can give. I mean, the greatest gift you can give to yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's really what what men are, I think, being called to today. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
um, and it's not easy, and it's not gonna take a year. It's not gonna take. 2 years even. It's lifelong. Um,
Yeah.
but it's so worth it. I've just seen it in. I mean, just one more little tangent from my story. The reason I feel like I have such a visceral, conviction that I've been called to marriage is because I've been so challenged. Um, as a Carmelite,
Mm.
I love the life. I love the brothers. I love the spirituality. I love reading and studying. But I was not being challenged to grow in self understanding, um, and in real relationship. It was easy to stay isolated, and
Yeah.
that is where, committing to self knowledge, for the sake of self determination, to be able to give yourself to the people around you, um, is a long process, but it's so worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's great encouragement. I invite every guy who's listening right now to really take that to heart. And it's like one of the things that wherever you're at on that journey, whether it's like this is the first time I've heard about the guys having an interior world, which is a caricature. Most guys know that they have an interior world to some degree, but like if you're on that end of the spectrum, like what does that look like? How can you books are great resources for diving into that. I'll link the one that you mentioned in the description below. What was it?
The impact of God.
The Saint
Mm.
The Impact of God. Yeah, and so you could be on that end of the spectrum, or you could be on the other end. I mean, it's not even a spectrum, but pathway of discovering your interior world. There's always something more. There's always the next step. There's always the next castle, to go back to Saint Teresa. There's always more you can understand about yourself, and it's not a pursuit of just self knowledge for self knowledge sake, but in order to give ourselves, right? You're ham tying yourself if you don't do that kind of work and actually look inward. You're going to have moments where you can't give yourself because you don't know what's going on underneath the hood, right? You need to know those things in order to make it happen. So I love that encouragement. I want guys to take that seriously. Where can guys connect with you for integrated discernment?
Sure. Yeah, I have a website. It's integrateddiscernment.com. It's a long name. Then
Yeah.
also, if you're on LinkedIn or on Facebook, I do have LinkedIn and Facebook pages for both of those. Well,
Sweet.
the LinkedIn page is me. It's Kevin Burke. But there's certainly links there to the website. And I have an email address if you ever want to just reach out to me directly. Integrateddiscernment@gmail.com. So
Sweet.
yeah, I'd be happy to hear from anybody. If there's any way that you need help figuring out, the human dimension of your formation and some of the wounds you're struggling with, and how it all fits into where God is calling you and how He's calling you. I'm here.
Are you looking to work with priests, religious, or people who are in the midst of discernment?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about working with priests and religious. It's always been, my men and women who are struggling with, the human pitfalls and obstacles to their discernment, and the psychological struggles that they're going through, and how it gets in the way of what they sense is what God is really calling them to. So.
Yeah, grace builds on nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say thank you. Kevin, sorry to interrupt. I just want to say thank you for having me on, and I hope this blesses many guys.
So. Yeah, no, thank you. I love hearing your story, and I think there's a lot of relatable aspects, and I'm excited to get this out there to men. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Hey Brother podcast. If you guys want to learn more about what I do as a mentor, you can head over to craftitformore.com. That's where you can learn about a little, more details about how help men become who it is that God's created them to be, whether it's struggling through addiction, relationship stuff with your wife, with getting closer to friends, career stuff. That's all listed there, and I would love to walk with any men, that's looking to work through pretty similar things, human barriers, but also the integrated dimension of what is the Lord saying to you and all of this. So, all right, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. God bless. Thanks for listening to the Hey Brother podcast. If this episode has been a blessing for you, help us grow by sharing it with a brother who needs it. Visit crafterformore.com for more resources in growing in brotherhood, pursuing chastity, and overcoming addiction. Don't settle for less. Hit subscribe and let's become the men God has created us to be.